Layne Dalfen, how are you?
Hi, Lilou. I'm good. In this snowy weather, I'm good.
Well, you're in Canada, I'm here in France. Thank you for accepting this interview on our dreams, how we can decode our dreams. You're actually a dream analyst, and last video interview I did of you was very, very successful. People love learning how they can decode their dream, how they can find solution to their problem via dreams. So thank you, Lainey, for sharing with us your wisdom on this
My
subject.
pleasure. And I just love what I do. And the most wonderful thing about the dreams is that the wisdom always comes from the dreamer. And I'm still 37 years later, just as passionate about hearing from the dreamer after I ask my questions, discovering what the dream is about. It's amazing, the subconscious.
Oh, I love when you start talking about this. So tell us, so we can really find solution then to our problems via our dreams?
Absolutely, because at the first level, the dream is actually, the subconscious is operating in a very similar way to the conscious. Like when you get up in the morning, you think to yourself, you prioritize your day. You think, who do I have to call? Who do I have to email? And your subconscious operates very similarly. The only thing is what happens is if you have 1,000 things happen to you today, when you go to sleep tonight, your subconscious is also going to prioritize the one issue that's bothering you the most. And all of your dreams tonight are going to be you testing out different solutions and possible reactions to that very specific current issue that you're attempting to problem solve. And so what I do is I help the dreamer, A, attach the dream to the current issue that you are attempting to problem solve. And once I understand what the problem is, once the dreamer tells me, then we look back at the dream because you figure out what you want to do about something that's bothering you, and the solution comes to you in your subconscious, of course, before it gets to your conscious. And that's what I do, is I teach people how to recognize what a solution looks like when it comes in the form of a metaphor.
So how can we decode all this? Because sometimes we have dragons, sometimes we have terrible things happen. It's nightmares, or it can be. How do you sort all this out? Can we do it ourselves, or do we need someone to help us do that?
Actually, you can do it yourself. There's 5 basic points of entry that I use to uncover the meaning of the dream, to decode it. And the first and easiest is to ask yourself, how did I feel in the dream? And if you say, well, I felt very scared, you want to ask yourself, what is going on in my current life that's making me feel frightened? Um, and sometimes that doesn't work because we're not always in touch with our feelings. It's called welcome to the human race. And so you might use another point of entry because it's like a puzzle. You try one piece and that piece doesn't work, you try another piece. So another thing is to look at the plot. What's the story in the dream? So maybe somebody just a few days ago on YouTube asked me a question. She said she was dreaming that her husband was cheating on her. And so she's feeling betrayed about something. Now this dream, it may not be about her husband. The point of the dream is that there's an emotion of betrayal. And so she would want to ask herself, what is going on this week? What situation is going on in my life this week that I'm feeling betrayed about? And the interesting thing is that the dream, Alfred Adler said, the dream gives rise to an emotion that helps you move forward towards the goal. And the goal in this case, of course, you have the nightmare. It's not a bad thing, Lilou. The reason you have the nightmare is because you're not looking after what needs looking after in your waking life, and your subconscious is taking care of you. So maybe this woman needs to express herself to her friend, or maybe it is her husband or a family member. The point is she's feeling betrayed about something and she's not speaking up. And the dream brings those emotions forward to help her bring it out into her waking life, to inspire her, to prod her, to express herself. And that's what the dream does, because it's interesting that she says she woke up crying, and it's because she's feeling betrayed by somebody and she's not expressing herself, and the dream gives her a rehearsal to cry out. So, and
so we have it's like we have this extra intelligence or this consciousness we're not using otherwise.
Exactly. I love you. You know, you always get it. That's what I just love about you. It's because we're really only using, what is it, 5% of our brain, and your subconscious is who's a better person to give you advice about something that's bothering you than yourself. It's like, and you have your very own therapist waking up with you every morning, giving you positive solutions to the things that are bothering you.
So I guess the quality of our dream is related to the quality of our question or our intention, meaning that most people go to bed and just sleep and don't use this tool.
But you get the tool anyway. But if you ask for a solution, you're right. Then the point is you can propel your problem-solving skills, because you're going to get it anyway, by the way. Like, you figure out what you want to do about something that's bothering you, regardless of whether you analyze the dreams or not. But the point is, if you analyze the dreams, you get it faster. I could give you a very quick example. When I was turning 40, I was working through speaking up for myself, because I grew up in a family with a European father, and I couldn't look at my father when I was 6 or 7 if he was yelling at me and say, "Excuse me, I don't like how you're talking to me right now," because that would have been considered disrespectful. So I became what Frederick Perls would have called over-invested in shutting up and under-invested in speaking up. But at 40, if I'm in an argument with my husband and I don't like how he's talking to me, it's not appropriate to stand there shaking in my boots like I'm 7 and he's my father, because I'm an adult and he's my equal. And so what happens is, one night I had an argument with Andy, my husband, and I woke up the next day, and of course I didn't say anything to him because I used to be afraid to speak up. This is like 17 years ago, because today I'm 57, so I'm no longer afraid. I've exercised this aspect of my potential and my personality. But when I was 40, I was just starting. So we had this fight, and I didn't speak up for myself, not even a word. And that night I went to sleep and I had a nightmare, and in the dream I dreamt about an aunt of mine who had already been dead for 15 years. So to use the symbols, which is another point of entry, you ask yourself very quickly, what are the first 2 or 3 things that come to my mind when I think about that person? And my first answer was that about that aunt, she had such a big mouth. And if she didn't like you, she had no problem telling you. And if she did like you, she also told you. She was a very assertive and expressive person. And she was the solution to my argument that I had with my husband. I needed to access that potential or ability inside myself that I was sleeping, because it was, I call it unexercised, an unexercised part of yourself. And I needed to exercise my ability to speak up for myself. So I'm not going to turn into that assertive aunt overnight, because I don't say that change is easy, but I do say that change is possible. And once I understood that she was the solution to the dream, the next morning I woke up, and after I analyzed the dream, I went to my husband and I just used a little bit of her. And I said, "That really hurt my feelings, the way you spoke to me last night. I don't like when you talk to me like that. It hurts my feelings." So once you express yourself a little bit, it's like letting air out of the balloon, and the nightmare disperses, because that's how an example of what you think is scary in the first place, if you analyze the dream, nightmares are wonderful things. They are gifts, gifts from your higher self.
But for little kids, when we're little kids, for example, I had this dream of this huge monster in stone that was coming in and trying to get me. He was so loud and I was trying to hide, and it was always that same scene. And my question is, for parents that have kids with their kids, that have kids that dream like that on a regular basis and are frightened, what do parents do with it? How can you help the kid with that?
That's great question. And I'll tell you why, because this solution that I'm going to give you to your question, I want you to know that adults can do this too. It's what Carl Jung called active imagination. So if I was with you when you were a little girl and you dreamt like about a monster, what you do is, instead of analyzing the dream like you would with an adult, you talk about the dream as if it's happening right now, and you say to the child, "Oh, did you dream about a giant? Well, Mummy is coming into that dream with you now, and we are going to build a wall that's so high that the giant can't get over that wall. And so when you have that dream, Mummy's coming into that dream with you." And so what you're using is active imagination. And because dreaming is really just another form of thinking, it's the same exact thing as changing your mind. Like, you go downtown because you want to buy a pair of shoes, but you pass by a store window and you see a blouse that you like, and you change your mind and you decide to buy the blouse. And this is exactly the same thing. By telling a young child, "I'm coming into the dream and we're going to build a wall that's too high for the giant to get over," you are teaching that child creative problem solving. You are changing his mind. And once you put that thought in, it's just as good as you having seen a blouse and changing your mind about what you want to buy. So you can change the images of the dream all the time, and you can do that with adults also, because really that's what happens. It's like, if I talk to that woman who dreamt her husband is cheating on her, and she has the idea after analyzing the dream that the dream is giving her a rehearsal to cry out or to speak out. Once she understands that, then you've changed the image, and now she could go and do something about it. So it really doesn't matter if you change the dream by talking about it while you're awake and discussing it like we would do with an adult's dream, or if you change the images like we did in the example of the child's dream. You're still changing your mind and you're still problem solving. And me, I don't care how you do that. You could do it any way you want. Any change is all good with me.
So before we go to bed, we could write down the question that we have if we want to answer for a specific question.
Yes, you can write down the question, and you can even, as you're falling asleep, take some deep breaths, close your eyes, and you can even ask yourself to have a dream that uses images that you can understand, using metaphors that you can understand. So, and the other thing you can do if you want to bring on a dream about a specific problem is you can think about how that problem makes you feel, and that will bring on the dream. That will definitely bring it on. But
and then to remember, and then we have to write down really quickly when we wake up. What are the techniques?
Yes, if you're not accustomed to remembering your dreams, what you want to do is leave a paper and pen beside your bed, because what you said at the beginning of the interview, Lilou, intention. Your intention makes all the difference about remembering your dream or not remembering your dream. If you've made a decision that you want to remember a dream and you leave paper and pen beside the bed, when you wake up in the morning, don't get off the bed so fast. Just start writing. And even there's an example that I give on one of my YouTubes about a woman who dreamt that she had a piglet stuck to her breast. And that was her whole dream, just that picture. And so you don't need a big long dream with a beginning, a middle, and an end. Even one picture is really worth 1,000 words. It says so much, and it can really give you a good response to something that's bothering you.
And Lainey, tell me, is there different levels of a dream or qualities of dreams that are like a time while you sleep that gives a more profound, deeper message? Because when we wake up, when we're half asleep, well, we're waking up in the morning, and if we stay in bed, sometimes we fall back asleep, and then that's the dream we remember.
Yes, because it's closest to the dreams that come, the closer you get to morning, the longer the period of time that you're spending in stage 1 and stage 2. And those stage 1 and stage 2 are where you get the most vivid dreams, and they also happen closer to the morning, so your chances of dream recall, of course, increase.
Mm-hmm.
But I like those dreams that I get in the middle of the night, because those are often they're all meaningful. And what I wanted to say to you I'm a person who is eclectic in my approach to dreams. I use Freud, Jung, Adler, and Pearls, because I like to look at the dream from many different levels. Some people only like to find out, why did I have that dream last night? And they don't want to look deeper into the dream. But if you want to, if you're a person like me and really wants to go deeper into the dream, that was why I wrote my book, because the dream at the first level is always about something that either happened to you yesterday or something that you thought about yesterday. But if you want to look another layer, there's always another layer under it and another layer under that. Like even that dream that I just said to you about not speaking up for myself and dreaming about my aunt, if I wanted to go to a deeper layer than the argument that I had with my husband the night before, then I can ask myself, where in my life did I feel like this before? And maybe the answer would come to me that I used to feel like this when I was a little girl. So maybe I'll connect it to my early childhood relationship with my father.
Mm-hmm.
And then and so then I can do the work about, forgiving or changing and realizing this isn't about my father. It's like I used to have a teacher long ago. She used to say to me, when you're doing work, dream work, line up all the garbage cans and make sure that you throw the garbage into the right can.
Mm-hmm.
And if I realize that my fear of speaking up with my husband really isn't related to him at all, it's really about who I was when I was 6 or 7 or 8, then I can throw the right stuff into the right garbage, and I don't have to attach that behavior to my husband when really it belongs to Layne, the little girl, and the way her relationship was back then. So it really promotes change by looking at the dream on a deeper level. It really helps change.
What's your book's name? I haven't read it. What is it about?
It's called Dreams Do Come True. Decoding Your Dreams to Discover Your Full Potential. And you can buy it online at my site. And what I did in the book is I took the same 6 or 7 dreams that run throughout the course of the book, and I look at those same 6 or 7 dreams from all these different perspectives, looking at it from a Jungian, a Gestalt perspective, an Adlerian perspective, because I wanted to show you that it doesn't matter how you look at the dream, you will always get something good. You always get a prize. And however deeper you want to look into the dream, then you get more. The payoff is bigger, So it all depends. But I think any change is good and any knowledge is good. And I know you agree with me about that. If I find out that it's only about that fight with my husband last night, or if that woman on YouTube finds out that it's only about her feeling betrayed about something, right, then that's fine. That's good too. Any information is good, because once you know something, of course, once you know something, you can never go back to not knowing, which is sometimes really annoying.
And tell me,
but
what
it's a
about
good thing.
the dream, the awakened dream? What about have you looked at that? The people that are actually dreaming during the day, or starting to get all those kind of dreamlike messages during the day. This is something that we see in the Celestine prophecy, or that Don Miguel Ruiz speaks about. Have you
Right, but
looked at that? Is that something that that our
I, I,
consciousness?
I haven't really looked at that, but I did read, actually, I did read the Celestine Prophecy. It was one of the books that I used as research while I was writing my book. But I think the important thing is that it's all thinking, whether it's conscious thinking, subconscious thinking, semi-conscious thinking, dreaming, like all of these are different forms of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And what I try and do is make the boundary more smooth between the way you think during the day and the way you think at night. So I like to get away from this concept of that a curtain comes up in the morning when you wake up and the curtain goes down at night. It's like I like to make the motion more fluid with how you're thinking during the day and how you're thinking at night. Because really, it's all the same. The only difference is that right now, while you and I are speaking, if there's something about the way I move my head or the way I'm not moving my head because I'm worried about the camera, but if there's something about my mannerism or the way I talk or the sound of my voice that reminds you of a teacher that you had in grade 6,
Oh yeah.
you don't realize it right now because you're awake and you're distracted, that your subconscious might be flashing a picture of that grade 6 teacher. And tomorrow morning when you wake up and you dream about your grade 6 teacher, you might call me and say, like, what the heck is that? Why am I dreaming about her? And it's because you'd be using her as a metaphor for me. And so, like when you go to sleep at night, what happens is all the distractions disappear and you get to see what you're thinking.
No, it's clear. It's very clear, Layne. So if we're not really a dream decoder, or if we have a problem understanding our own dreams, we can email you and send you those dreams, and then you analyze that for us.
Well, no, I don't do it by email.
Okay.
Because it's a psychological approach. I have to talk to the dreamer because what a cat means to you and what a cat means to me are completely different things. And what
Yeah,
maybe.
so you go beyond those words.
I'm like those dream dictionaries are really not helpful at all, and they're very away from what I do. So, but what you can do is you can go to haveagreatdream.com and you can book an appointment through there, and you could either talk to me or one of my therapists that work at the Dream Center. And what we do is you book a time that you'd like, and we settle on the time that's agreeable by email. And once we've done that, then we can do a call by Skype like you and I are doing, or we can, we phone you. You give your telephone number, we phone you.
So in that center, there's little beds and there is pillows, and people can just go in a room and sleep and then get their dream out.
No, it's more a therapist's office for people that come here in person.
Yeah.
They sit in my office the same way as you and I are doing now. The same way. They sit in a chair and tell me about the dream, and I go through asking them questions to help uncover why they had that dream, and then I help them discover the solutions and strengths as they appear in the dream. I just want to tell you that all these different emotions and potential that we come into this world with when we're born, like the potential to be shy, to be assertive, to be selfish, to be giving, to be courageous, to be frightened, all these different potentials that we have, they are all alive inside all of us. And the only thing is that the people that bring you up teach you that it's more cool to be one way than another way. And so you learn to become over-invested or over-exercised in some aspects of your personality and underinvested in other aspects of your personality. And the reason why you do dream work is because it's very limiting, since life throws us so many different things happen to us in our lives, that to have the same habitual response to every single thing that happens in your life is very limiting. And the dreams give you the behavior and the solution to what the behavior you need to adopt or that you need to exercise. And it puts you in a very powerful position to be able to respond appropriately. Because for me, there's no such thing as bad or good. Like, I don't use that language. Everything is good. It's a matter of what is appropriate and what's not appropriate to any given situation that life has thrown you. Because, if it's your boss, then you don't want to use your big mouth and open up and be extremely assertive with your boss, because you might lose your job. So there's some places where it's appropriate to speak up for yourself in a very assertive way, and other places where it might make more sense to pull back a little bit more. And you want to be able to feel comfortable responding to the situation in a way that you feel is appropriate to that situation. And that's what dream work does. That's the deeper reason about why I help people with their dreams.
Thank you so much, Layne. Thank you for all this abundance of wisdom and of passion and of joy. Thank you.
I do have a lot of passion when it comes to dream work, no question about it.
Clearly. I send you much, much love.
Okay, and me too to you, Lilou. So I want to tell you what happened after you sent your book to my daughter in New York, who had lost her job, and she was really out of a job for too long and was really beginning to get frustrated. But my daughter is the type of person, she had her mind and her heart focused on, one thing. It has to be a job, and it has to be a full-time job, full-time job, full-time job. And she was only focused on that. And because of that, she never looked at the possibility of doing freelance. She's an accessories designer. She designs purses and belts, and she was only looking for full-time work. And there was this woman in the background who sometimes would ask her to please come and do freelance, and she never wanted to look at that idea and was only going to interviews for full-time jobs. And at a certain point, she said, she gave up. She said, I'm going to have to come back to Canada because I can't stay in the United States. And anyway, all along, she's reading your book. And sometimes I would say to her, what are you doing? When it was at night, I would say, what are you doing? And she would say to me, oh, I'm in bed with Lilou, because she really enjoyed your book. And here is the end of the story. The end of the story is that Lisa finally decided, never mind a full-time job, I'm going to take this job freelance with this woman who absolutely adores her and knows how talented she is. And now she's working with this woman freelance who sponsored her to stay in the United States. And now that they're together, they're getting all kinds of work from like Ralph Lauren and Cole Haan. And she's got so much work working as a freelancer that she doesn't have a minute for herself because she's so busy. So you really, really opened up the door to show about not to get stuck in that box and step out of the box, and maybe you're going to find something better for yourself.
Yeah, I think once we're on track with what we're meant to do, it's amazing how the universe just, boom, puts everything aligned for you.
Yes, it's the truth.
Really,
it's
really
the
cool.
Truth.
So happy to hear that. You'll send her big, big kisses.
Okay, I will. I will.
I send you much love, Layne. Thank you so much for taking the time for this interview.
My pleasure, Lilou.
Bye-bye. I'll see you soon.
Course before it gets to your conscious. And that's what I do, is I teach people how to recognize what a solution looks like when it comes in the form of a metaphor.
So how can we decode all this? Because sometimes we have dragons, sometimes we have terrible things happen. It's nightmares, or it can be. How do you sort all this out? Can we do it ourselves, or do we need someone to help us do that?
Actually, you can do it yourself. There's 5 basic points of entry that I use to uncover the meaning of the dream, to do testing out different solutions and possible reactions to that very specific current issue that you're attempting to problem solve. And so what I do is I help the dreamer, A, attach the dream to the current issue that you are attempting to problem solve. And once I understand what the problem is, once the dreamer tells me, then we look back at the dream, because you figure out what you want to do about something that's bothering you, and the solution comes to you in your subconscious of love what I do. And the most wonderful thing about the dreams is that the wisdom always comes from the dreamer. And I'm still 37 years later just as passionate about hearing from the dreamer after I ask my questions, discovering what the dream is about. It's amazing, the subconscious.
Oh, I love when you start talking about this. So tell us, so we can really find solution then to our problems via our dreams?
Absolutely, because at the first level, the dream is actually, the subconscious is operating in a very similar way to the conscious. Like when you get up in the morning, you think to yourself, you prioritize your day. You think, who do I have to call? Who do I have to email? And your subconscious operates very similarly. The only thing is, what happens is, if you have 1,000 things happen to you today, when you go to sleep tonight, your subconscious is also going to prioritize the one issue that's bothering you the most. And all of your dreams tonight are going to be you.
Layne Dalfen, how are you?
Hi, Lilou, I'm good. In this snowy weather, I'm good.
Well, you're in Canada, I'm here in France. Thank you for accepting this interview on our dreams, how we can decode our dreams. You're actually a dream analyst, and last video interview I did of you was very, very successful. People love learning how they can decode their dream, how they can find solution to their problem via dreams. So thank you, Layne, for sharing with us your wisdom on this subject.
My pleasure. And I just